Welcome to Smalltalk Daily for Tuesday, January 27, 2009. This morning I'd like to go through some basics on ObjectStudio. I've gone through a lot of beginner stuff on VisualWorks, and it's time to go through some of the same kind of things for ObjectStudio. Let's say you fired up ObjectStudio 8, and you'd like to know where to begin, how to get started with the tool and learn some of the basic things. Well, there's a native way to load things in. You go here to File, Load Application. In VisualWorks you load parcels through the System Parcel tool. Here in ObjectStudio you use this. This will bring up a little tool like this that gives you a list of applications. And if you're starting, you want to scroll down. And down here, you'll find something labeled Sample Browser. Select that and hit Load. And what it'll do is it'll bring a bunch of stuff in. If I close this, you'll see that the way these things tend to work in ObjectStudio is they drop things here. This is not actually a transcript window. It's a tool dock. And things come in here and you can double click on them. So if I double click on the Sample Browser, I get this. And what this is just a little tool that gives you a list of other applications that you can load to learn how to do things. So for instance, let's say I wanted to start with something very basic. How to build a GUI with some buttons that did something. So I'll pick Buttons and Actions. I'll take the related class files meaning stuff that you would normally file in VisualWorks terms. And I'll go ahead and hit Load Files on that. Now once that comes in, push this aside, you notice that again, it puts it up here in this little dock. Now if I double click this, it launches it. And this is just a little mini calculator. I'm going to put a 1 there, tab down here and put a 2 there, hit the add, and there it does it. Not terribly exciting. But if I wanted to see how it works, I can right click on this, get the context menu, I can browse, and it'll bring up a browser on the code. So this brings up the standard system browser, hierarchy mode, and I see here is the package, which is kind of an ugly looking name. It's been rendered through into the VisualWorks package model based on the file name, so probably not the best looking name, but there it is. And here's the code. You can see do add, do multiply. It's pretty easy to see how these things are hooked up. And if you look here, this is the method that actually puts the form together, and this is where all the things are actually wired together. So you see the way things are wired together in ObjectStudio is in code as opposed to VisualWorks where you do things with that window spec. So let's close that for a minute because I'm not going to go through all that hookup yet. So if you wanted to see this in the GUI builder, what you do is you hit the edit option here, and that'll bring up the GUI builder on this. And here I have the GUI builder. Here's my little designer tool up here, and if I select one of these widgets and I double click on it, that'll bring up the properties tool on it. Now unlike VisualWorks, you can't scroll through these, it's kind of modal, but in any case this is how this stuff works. I can see the name is add, the text is add. If I hit methods, I can see how it's hooked up. So I can see the assigned method to this is do add. These are other ones that are available in the specific class I've looked at. I could check this and see all the inherited methods. So this gives me an idea of how I hook these things up in the GUI form designer. If you looked at the code, the nice thing is you can hook it all up by hand pretty easily if you don't want to go through this. So ObjectStudio gives you two ways of doing this, and they're both pretty easy to work with. So let's close out of that. Now this is basically a general overview of how to find some of the stuff that you want to look at. So if you wanted to find ActiveX, it's going to tell you can load these things, but of course you first have to load the OLA support. And there's a bunch of other things. In the next few days I'm going to go through some of these examples and walk through how to use various tools in ObjectStudio. But I think we'll leave it there for today and just go with this brief overview. So until next time, have fun with Smalltalk.